2.
Hello, my name is Kristen Widmer, and I'm going to be demonstrating how to do a full physical assessment on your patient. First thing you want to do is introduce yourself and get some information from the patient. Good afternoon, my name is Kristen. I'm going to be your nurse today.
Okay.
Can I have you verify your name and date of birth, please?
Jonathan Widmer. September 26th, 1986.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to start with the full physical assessment. I'm going to go through all of your systems, and we're just going to take a look, okay?
Okay.
So the first thing I'm going to start with is cranial nerves and responses to cranial nerves. So I'm going to ask you to smile, nice and big, stick your tongue out, and move your tongue right to left. Okay, great. So that's kind of assessing, thank you. It's kind of assessing your muscle responses when it comes to some of the nerves there. I'm also going to take my pen light and I'm going to shine it in your eyes. I want you to look straight at my nose. And I'm going to shine it in one eye first and then the next. And I'm checking for pupillary response. I'm checking that when the light actually shines into the eye, that the pupils restrict, and that when I take the light out, that they dilate. So I also need to check to see your kind of peripheral vision, to see where you can see. So I want you to keep looking straight at me, and I'm going to put a number out and kind of come close to you, and you're going to tell me when you see it.
2. I have to look though. Okay.
And then again?
3.
Okay. And then I'm going to have you just follow my finger. We're going to go in kind of a little pattern. I want you to take a look at my finger and just follow it where it goes. Thank you. It's in an H pattern just to make sure that your eyes are responding and that everything is doing what it's supposed to be doing. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is assessing your heart and lungs. So I'm going to start with your lungs. And if you could lean forward just a little bit for me. So the lung sounds we're going to be looking for is I'm going to start with, at the top is the vesicular, towards the middle is the bronchiovesicular, and towards the bottom is going to be your bronchial. So usually the vesicular you're going to hear in the front, the bronchiovesicular, and the bronchial you're going to hear from the back. So I'm going to do it in kind of a diagonal-like pattern. And every time I ask the patient that I'm listening, I'm going to ask him to take a nice deep breath for me. So deep breath. Another deep breath. Deep breath. And last deep breath. Okay, and if you could lean back for me, I'm also going to listen to the lungs from the front. We're going to be the top of the lungs, which is more like the vesicular sounds. So nice deep breath. And one more deep breath. Okay, so from here, I'm going to start listening to the cardiovascular sounds. We're going to start with the right side, which is going to be aortic valve. We're going to move to the left, which is your pulmonic. Move down to mid-sternal line, kind of off to the left a little bit, is where you're going to hear your S1, S2, or your lub-dub sound. And then we're going to move to the left side. We're going to move to the apex of the heart, which is going to be your fifth intercostal space, mid-clavicular line, which is going to tell you kind of like the true beat of the heart. So if your patient was on a cardiac medication that you needed to verify a heartbeat, you're always going to want to use this apex part there. Okay, and you can breathe normally. I'm just going to be listening to your heart. Okay, so since we're still on cardiovascular, we're going to be also assessing pulses. So what we're going to do is I like to assess the pulses most distally for the patient. So I like to do the radial and the pedal pulses because if you're getting a nice strong pulse here down at the bottom towards the wrist or at the feet, you're going to have nice strong pulses throughout. So sir, if I could see your wrist here, I'm going to feel right on these radial pulses. And I'm going to come down to the foot if you could just, I'm going to feel right at the top of the foot to feel both those pedal pulses. And at the same time, I'm also going to take my stethoscope and twist it around to the bell. And I'm going to listen to the carotid arteries on both sides to listen for the sound of those. I want to make sure that I hear that kind of like rushing, kind of like a rushing sound, but with the beat of the heart, just to make sure there's enough perfusion there to those. So you can breathe normally. Okay, and you can also do that with the aortic valve, which is going to be right in the center, right below the sternum. You can do the same thing with the aortic valve to make sure there's enough perfusion there. So at the same time that I'm assessing pulses, I'm going to take a look at capillary refill. So I'm going to take the hands, I'm going to look at the nail, I'm going to push down on the nail and see how quickly it takes for the color to return back. So if I'm going to push down, I'm going to see blue. You want to see less than 3 seconds to make sure that each of the extremities, you also do this with the toes, is perfusing properly. So after you go through the cardiovascular, I'm going to do an abdominal assessment. So I'm going to ask my patient just to kind of lean back a little bit here. And what I'm going to do is take my stethoscope and I'm going to listen to each quadrant of his stomach to make sure that I hear the gurgling sounds of the stomach, to make sure that everything is moving properly. What I need to do is wait 1 minute. If I haven't heard anything within a minute, then there could be an issue in the abdomen. But I want to make sure that I listen for the sounds. And as soon as I hear a sound, I can move on to the next. But I need to wait at least a minute before moving on if I haven't heard anything. Okay, and I've heard everything there. So after we do most of that, I also kind of take a look at his skin, take a look at, see if I see any bumps, bruises, scrapes, any rashes, or things like that. I also kind of take an idea of his personal hygiene, just because sometimes people lack of personal hygiene, there could be some other issues going on there. So everything looks fantastic. So after that, we can move on to musculoskeletal. So I'm going to ask my patient to go ahead and raise his arms up by his shoulders. And kind of moving back as far as you can, moving forward, and then down by your sides. And then also, if you could please stand up. I'm going to ask you to take your leg, and just raise it up and out to the side. And same with the other leg. Great. And I can see that he has full range of motion in all extremities. I'm sorry, sir, if you could have a seat again for me. I'm also going to assess for strength and motor response in both the arms and the legs. So if you could, I'm going to push down. I want you to push back up against me. Okay. And same push down. All right. And put your hands up like this. Same thing. I'm going to push against. And then the other way. Pull against me. Perfect. And then arms up, or legs up, I'm sorry. Push your foot this way. Great. Leave the knee straight. There you go. And now push against me. That's it. And then push this way. And I'll do it this one. Forward. And then back the other way. Okay. So I can see that it also has full motor strength in both extremities, and also he's able to follow commands easily. If a patient wasn't able to follow commands or use those motor responses that way, they could be at risk for a stroke or could have already had one. The last thing you would kind of do is go ahead and have your patient stand up again, and just kind of bend straight over. All right, and I'm going to take a look at the back, make sure that everything is straight, nothing's deviating. Again, because we're looking for musculoskeletal or spinal issues here. Everything looks nice and straight. Go ahead and stand up and have a seat. And that concludes the physical assessment on my patient. Thank you.